Welcome to Northwest Aerospace News Live. I'm Jennifer Ferrero, a writer for the magazine and your host. Thank you to our sponsor, Aerospace Vendors. In today's episode, we talk with David Leach of ATC Manufacturing and Maria Lusardi with Lakeside Companies. They are partnered and were at the forefront of applying for the Tech Hub grant. Let's see what they've been up to. Let's welcome today's guests, David and Maria.
Yes. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, and thank you so much for coming to the show. I recently interviewed both of you for an article in Northwest Aerospace News that's coming out in February. Well, you've both been involved with the American Aerospace Materials Center Tech Hub process along with Gonzaga and other partners. Let's start with David. David, you're a business developer with ATC Manufacturing. Tell me why the goal of applying for the Tech Hub was important for ATC.
Well, ATC manufactures aerospace components using highly reinforced thermoplastic composites. And these types of parts have become quite well established now in many aircraft, such as 787, Boeing 787, Airbus A350, and so on. But the next step is really to apply these materials and processes into larger scale applications on next generation of aircraft. But this does require quite a bit of technology development, even considering some of the large kind of OEMs. It's a pretty large step to transition from either metals or thermoset composites to large-scale thermoplastic composites. That really means that we need to develop those technologies to full production readiness, and that's best done through a collaborative effort such as the proposed technology hub, where people can really work together and develop those technologies to full-scale manufacturing capability.
Well, great. Now, Maria, you work for Lakeside Companies and you're partnered with ATC. What role is Lakeside playing in this process?
Yeah, I think so. Lakeside is one of many regional leaders involved in the Tech Hub. We have a pretty big consortium that's applying for this for the region, but we've been a part of the community for a long time. We just celebrated 25 years last year, and we really have a regional presence. So we have, we do everything from farming in Eastern Washington to we've got offices in Coeur d'Alene and different things that we're doing around the region. So our role has been a lot about supporting and helping to bring together the application and the various entities, both on the Washington and Idaho side. And then we've also been working with the community on a good use for the former Triumph facility. So we acquired that a couple of years ago, and we've been in a lot of conversations with various community leaders since then about how to best use that building and that space for the community and for the area, because we really want to see industry and growth stay in Spokane and in this region. So when the opportunity to create an investment that would drive growth and jobs and manufacturing in the Spokane-Coeur d'Alene region came about through this Tech Hub opportunity, we thought that was the perfect time to kind of reimagine that facility and use it to achieve those goals.
Great. So David, ATC manufactures thermoplastic composites for the aerospace industry. What role will this manufacturing process play in the future of aircraft manufacturing? And where will the parts appear on commercial aircraft?
Quite established in smaller scale parts up to a few feet in size. But the next generation of aircraft, whether they're commercial aircraft, advanced air mobility, unmanned vehicles, and so on, light weighting is absolute key. And so that will drive the need for composite materials. Many of the composites that are used right now are thermosetting type materials that require quite long preparation and cure cycles, whereas thermoplastics can be fabricated very quickly and in an automated manner as well. And so that both reduces the fabrication costs and enables high rate, which is going to be absolutely key for next generation of aircraft, whether it is a narrow body or advanced air mobility or the unmanned type of vehicles, where we're looking at making maybe more than 100 per month. And existing composite technologies in thermosets cannot really keep up with that. So the sorts of areas that are being looked at for thermoplastic composites in the next round of applications would be to move them to larger scale and more complex components. So the areas that are being looked at are things like aircraft frames, say, in commercial aircraft, ribs, control surfaces, and also in areas such as the horizontal or vertical tail and so on. Yeah, so this is a good illustration of some of the potential areas, along with others such as floor beams, that can really benefit from the high rate manufacturing through technologies such as stamp forming and continuous molding.
Great. Thank you, David. Maria, who are some of the key partners participating in this process, and what role do each of them play?
Yeah, well, I mentioned this kind of in the first question. We have a pretty big consortium, but part of the reason for that is this program from the EDA is a very well thought out program from their perspective, and so it requires participation from the entire region, not just from industry. And so, there's kind of different categories I can go through of key groups and people that are involved, but obviously number one is industry. So that's very key to the Tech Hub. And we're lucky to have Boeing and Spiro Aerosystems and some other OEMs that are involved, not just in the planning, but are making commitments to the hub itself to make this happen because it's important for their success as well as for the region. And really what that's about is it requires a substantial amount of very expensive equipment to develop these components and this technology at the higher TRL levels. We're not talking about stuff that can happen in a lab. We're talking about large parts being made at high rates. So the availability of all of that equipment in one location holds a lot of significance and value to industry because it can get past the research into actually proving it out to where it can be made at high rates and put on all of these different aircraft. So it's kind of a 1 in a million opportunity to create that for industry. And then workforce is also a key component to this project. So we've got a lot of organizations involved on that as well. That's including from both Washington and Idaho. We've got GSI, the Spokane Workforce Council, the CDA Economic Development Council, several of the tribes, the Machinist Institute, which represents the labor union. So there's a lot of groups working on that part of the hub because what this type of investment from the EDA is looking to do is to create supply chain and growth around the key technology that we're developing in the hub. So, and a lot of those jobs are not traditional 4-year jobs, but are things that come from apprenticeships or certificate programs that would support both the existing suppliers and any new supply chain that's created.
Maria, can you? Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Ahead. That's 2 categories. There's more.
Well, that's fine. Go ahead and tell me what other categories there might be.
Yeah. So then there's the cities and states themselves. So this is a really bipartisan effort between both states and also all the local governments. So we've got everybody from senators at both states to Spokane, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, both the cities and the chambers of commerce involved. And then there's economic development groups that are kind of related to that, like S3R3, NEMA, Avista's involved. There's also the existing supply chain, so ATC, CCI, Unitech, Electroimpact, and that's all about workforce and also not just getting the hub to the region, but how to attract and grow supply chain around the hub in this region. So what can we do to create businesses, to get businesses to locate here, to incentivize suppliers and OEMs to have a presence here and to build this industry into even more of a pillar for the region. So that's kind of that part of it. And then the last piece is the education network, which is a huge strength of this area. We've got Gonzaga. We also have North Idaho College, the University of Washington, Washington State, University of Idaho, and then down to the K through 12 level. So Spokane Public Schools, Elevate North, a whole bunch of different schools involved because that is also part of the hub and part of the application is having that education interaction and building those training programs, building and aligning research programs, and really creating those pipelines, both for workforce and for research and technologies.
Great. Thank you so much. There's so many important partners involved here, and I'm glad that you were able to share all of them with us. Maria, just one more question on this note. Then, what are your key goals that are cited in the Tech Hub application?
Yeah, and I covered a lot of them, kind of going through the partners because that's why a lot of the different partner groups are involved. But I think kind of the main goal is obviously to create the Tech Hub and to have that investment in the equipment and the space that we haven't seen in the U.S. be done here, right here in the Spokane-Coeur region. And so along with that, the building of the supply chain, boosting the local workforce, economic development, like those are all part of this and part of the goals and part of what we're submitting in the application is the vision of how to do that. And did in phase one is because we have great potential to do that here. We already have a great existing base in the industry. So this effort is really about accelerating that to the next level very quickly.
Thank you. David, how will this work impact ATC and the regional workforce in the short and long term?
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for companies in the region. As we know, aerospace is fairly complex, and there's a lot of very specific skill sets needed, which small to medium-sized companies often provide right now. So it's a really good opportunity for those companies to either use existing skills, or there may be new skills and technologies that are needed for thermoplastics that can be developed in the region. And for those companies to both work together and with OEMs and participating in the hub to work collaboratively and advance those technologies. Specifically for ATC, of course, we're already well established in Post Falls in North Idaho with room for expansion, and we're very excited to be able to take on these opportunities for the future with the technologies that will come out of the hub, particularly moving to some of these larger scale and more complex parts that we've talked about. In terms of things like the training and workforce, that's very important because aerospace requires very specific skills. You can't always just take someone who has been involved in other manufacturing and translate them directly into aerospace. So this will give us the opportunity for that workforce to really learn the skill set and have a good labor base here in the region that's very skilled in composites and specifically thermoplastic composites manufacturing.
Great. Well, we are already at the end of our show, believe it or not. So thank you so much for the great information. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to add?
I guess I would say just one quick thing. Although the hub is obviously a kind of standalone, several of the OEMs that are involved in the hub are also part of the NASA High Rate Composites Manufacturing Program in thermoplastics. ATC is a member of that, along with Boeing, Collins, Northrop, and Lockheed. So there's already some activity going on advancing thermoplastic technologies through the HiCam program, and the hub is just a great opportunity to jump onto that and accelerate it further for future aircraft.
Yeah, and I would just end with, we're very excited. I mean, I think this is a very exciting opportunity for the entire region, for ATC and for Lakeside and for everybody that's involved in the Tech Hub and everybody that lives here.
Well, thank you so much for coming to today's show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, if you're interested in learning more about the Tech Hub, go to aerospace-techhub.com. Or if you'd like to know more about ATC manufacturing, please visit their website. Thank you again to our sponsor, Aerospace Vendors. Until next time, keep engaging with the manufacturing news you need to know in the Northwest with Northwest Aerospace News Magazine. Goodbye.